And now, 3 rounds of Fade the Noise, bold takes, sharp bets, and guaranteed heat. Introducing first, the hosts, Joe and Eric.
Hello and welcome to episode 20, the big 2-0 of Fade the Noise. Your host, Eric and Joe, co-hosts here, and that's all we've got today. You know, real life gets in the way occasionally, and so we're missing Angel. Aaron will hopefully be joining us again soon, but we've got the entire breakdown for you guys, recap of last week, and a preview of what's to come over the next 3 days. So, a quick moment. Joe, CEO of Moneyline Hacks and sponsor of this show. Joe, how's your week going?
Week's going great. Everything's good. We have a huge weekend of combat sports ahead. We got PFL. It's going on right now as we speak. We got Power Slap. That'll be tonight. Yes, I cap Power Slap. Tomorrow, we got huge events for UFC 320 and Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is owned by Conor Mcgregor. He is actually going to be at that event. He's been promoting it, wild press conferences and all. And the main event will be Jeremy Stevens versus Mike Platinum Perry. And whoever wins this fight might be a future opponent for Conor McGregor in his first bare knuckle fight, should that happen. For that to happen, he does have to fight on the White House card next year and get out of his UFC contract. So we'll stay tuned on that.
Yeah. Don't forget, he also can't be the president of...
Yeah, not anymore.
No, that's crazy. I actually just read an article about the company that does, I think, what's it called? Broadcasting for one of the combat sports just went under. It was Power Slap, but from what I understand, the sport's fine. Like, they're going to keep the show going and everything. Dana White's committed. You know, I know you're surprisingly big Power Slap fan.
Yeah, I love Power Slap. I mean, it's no MMA, it never will be, but it's entertaining to say the least. So I follow it closely.
I hear you. Cool. Well, agreed. Totally looking forward to UFC 320 tomorrow night at your place. And before we dive in really quick, just going to touch on things that have happened. Shador is getting disrespected, I feel like. Starting Dylan Gabriel and then leaving Shador as QB3. I don't think there's any other possible way to read it. I know that, who was it that was talking smack about him? Rex Ryan.
Looking like Ursula out there. I don't know. Rex Ryan was hella mad at him.
It's like one of the most apt descriptions I've ever heard in my life. I wouldn't say that to his face, but I mean, yeah, he does. And it's easy to sit behind a desk and talk. Well, sort of easy. We're doing it right now, but it's hard when you're a media personality. We had a bunch more injuries this past weekend. I could not begin to tell you what the hell happened last night. I never expected the 49ers to come out on top of that, especially when I looked and saw that Pereira had 14 points. I strongly regretted not starting him in fantasy, but there is someone who did call that happening, and that would be the guy who writes the articles on the Moneyline Hacks website. If you
Shout
head
out
over
Mr.
there,
Jules. Mr. Jules.
Exactly. Also does soccer picks, and if you go to the Moneyline Hacks website, look under more and then analysis, you're going to see the write-ups. Dude was on point, okay? I never saw it coming. I don't claim to be an expert, but I do claim to have common sense, and common sense said that the Rams should have won. So give it a look. Seriously, you won't be disappointed. The guy knows what he's talking about. It's really, really good. And let's be honest, analysis and information never hurts. You know, getting things from multiple sources is what helps us make more informed decisions as bettors. So
Yeah,
excellent choice.
and he'll also be joining us on the podcast from time to time. Not often, but from time to time. Was trying to get him on here today, but he had a commitment for a lunch. So it would have been nice to praise him in person or virtually in person, but I'll shoot him a text and let him know we gave him a shout out on those awesome picks because he was on the Niners yesterday, particularly the spread.
Yes, sir. And last night we had a New York legend be born. There's a rookie, Cam Schlitler, which I don't think I will ever be comfortable saying in front of anyone. He pitched 12 strikeouts in 8 innings and eliminated the Red Sox. Like instant legend. Good for
Yeah.
him. Like, I cannot think of a more baller move and moment than that right there. And I'm happy for him, honestly.
Yeah, I agree on that. That's what legends are made of. That's a legendary story already to start to his postseason career, and it's just even better. He eliminated the Red Sox in that fashion. I'm gonna love seeing him in the future, seeing how he develops. And I actually told my wife that he actually had 12 strikeouts on 8 innings pitched and 0 earned runs. He's just a madman. So I called him Schlitler. So I like your pronunciation better. So we'll go with that moving forward.
He'll be Shitler when they play the Dodgers, right?
Yeah, that'll be his name, Schlitler.
Awesome. Cool. So, real quick recap. Last week, it was UFC Fight Night, Olberg versus Reyes. And just to update the audience, Angel gave out an Olberg finishes Reyes via TKO pick, cashed, and Joe gave out a VIP pick, same game parlay, Olberg money line, and over 0.5 rounds, 2 units, and he did it in round 1. So both of those cashed.
That was nice. That was nice to have me and Angel cash on those fights. And we'll see if we could do it again on this show.
You're spot on. Last week you said whenever you and Angel agree on something, it almost always happens. We'll get to the other things later, but there's more of it. So last week,
Nice.
great picks. We were 1 pick off from a sweep if you exclude everything I said. So mine's not supposed to sweep though, so I get it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, we've got UFC 320. I know Joe's been anticipating this for months. I've personally been excited about it for fewer months, but still very excited. And we've got Pereira versus Ankalaev. So, rematch. Gonna see what happens. I really, really hope. Actually, I have no hopes. You know what? Pereira kind of annoyed me for a while. So, not gonna say any hopes. And we'll also talk about Marab versus Corey Sandhagen. That one I'm pretty pumped about. But Joe, why don't you just give us your overview for the night for those 2 fights, what you think's going to happen, and what we should keep an eye on for betting?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to save most of the official picks for VIP, but I will have one best bet for UFC at the end of the night at the end of the podcast. So let's start off with, let's start off with the co-main event. I was going to say Jiri versus Roundtree is just going to be a hell of a fight. This whole card is stacked. Jiri versus Roundtree is the third fight down from the end. So it's right before the co-main event. I can't see that fight going to the decision, but we'll see what happens there. 2 dogs, 2 people that like to strike. So if you want a fight that's going to be exciting, that would be the one to pick for the card. So my fight, if you want to tune in as a viewer and just watch something strictly for entertainment, Yuri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. For UFC 320 tomorrow. But anyway, let's go to the betting stuff. Co-main event, Marab Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen. This is a hell of a fight. It's a long time coming for Sandhagen. He's been wanting that, undisputed title shot. And he gets it against Marab Dvalishvili, possibly the hardest champion to defeat right now in all weight classes. He definitely is the new bantamweight GOAT, should they say. And Sandhagen's a beast. I love Sandhagen. I've been following him for a while. He's tall, he's lanky, rangy. He knows how to use his length. Marab much shorter. So it's contrasting styles right there. Marab's going to want to get in. Marab has increased striking, though. He just gets better at being the champ. He's been better and better and better. It's very hard to really confidently pick a side on this. Obviously, Sandhagen has a value. I think there's more value with Sandhagen at the near plus 300 mark, but Dvalishvili, getting him to win by decision, that would be the way to go. If you're going to bet this fight and want to play Dvalishvili, do it by decision. I don't see him finishing Sandhagen. I don't think Sandhagen has ever been finished in his life. And, well, in his career, I don't know about on the streets, but in the streets of Colorado. But I don't know. So if Dvalishvili wins, should be a decision. If Sandhagen wins, who knows how that would happen. He has the power and the knees to shut your lights out. Do not get kneed by him. Do not get elbowed by him. He could stop the fight with a doctor via doctor stoppage with a cut. Great elbows, great knees. So, Marab, he hunts hips off jab feints. So Sandhagen has a lot of jab feints, especially when he angles out. But that's how he wins. He angles out good. He punishes with knees, and Marab does level change. So if Sandhagen wins by knockout, I could see it being a knee, catching Marab on that level change. Both guys have trained for it. And he gets trained to knee him when he level changes. Marab has trained to not get hit with the knee when he level changes. Guarantee you that's in both fighters' camps. So many factors to this fight. But like I said, if I had to lean a certain way, Marab decision, maybe sprinkle Sandhagen money line straight up just to cover yourself.
That I understand. I want to point out when you're talking about hips and I think elbows, maybe. I can't even remember anymore. That whole sentence sounded like straight gibberish, and I watch UFC consistently. That's awesome.
All right. Well,
What it is,
yeah.
you know what you're talking about, man. That was nuts.
Yeah, that was a little more technical. Like if you're an actual fighter, you would break it down that way. I am not a fighter, although I have trained a little. I am not a fighter.
Yeah. Hunts hips and something. I don't know, but awesome. And for those keeping track, Marab by decision is minus 250 right now, so might be end up looking for a parlay opportunity in there or a same game parlay. We'll see how it goes and what Joe has to recommend. And what do you think about Pereira versus Ankalaev?
Yeah, so for Pereira versus Ankalaev, that minus 250 for a decision is just nasty for Marab. That's just nasty. But we in VIP, we go around those obstacles when we find the best value. We're not putting minus 200 juice on anything, especially a decision prop. I don't care if he's a bantamweight goat. Even more, he might finish him. Terrible. Stay away from that. But anyway, the main event, Alex Poatan Pereira versus
Magomed.
Yeah, Magomed Ankalaev. So this is going to be a rematch of the first fight. They both are large gentlemen, both stand at about 6'4"-ish. I think Pereira is a little taller than Ankalaev. We were actually on Ankalaev the first fight in VIP, and we won that. We won that bet, so that was nice. He won in a unanimous decision across the board, 48-47 on two judges' scorecards and 49-46 on the third judge's scorecard. So it was more dominant scorecard than I think the performance. I think it was close, pretty close, but it was, it seemed like a lot of people say Pereira was just hesitant. He seems like he was off his game that day. Did Ankalaev make him off his day, or did he just wake up feeling like he was on the wrong side of the bed? Just feeling up lackluster. Because what happened is he defended the takedowns pretty nicely in Poatan. He was just defending takedowns. Ankalaev really couldn't take him down much. And then he would break away and he wouldn't really get off. That's what leads a lot of these experts to think that he wasn't feeling it, because even he defended the takedowns, but then he wasn't doing anything else. And that could very well be the case. These people aren't robots. They come in and sometimes they don't feel anywhere near 100%. So just could have been off that day. Ankalaev, he clinched. He had a bunch of clinch pressure. That first fight, he really let Pereira against the cage and didn't let him do anything. Pereira, cracked him or rocked him or did any of that, he could have stole a couple rounds and definitely won the fight, but he never did that. So if he does that this time and Pereira's able to have those flash moments, those key moments where he's doing damage, he's looking good in front of the judges visually, and he's landing some significant strikes, then he could definitely win this fight. It's not like a Dricus du Plessis versus Hamza Chimaev situation where he just had nothing for him. He could have closed that gap already in the time that he's been training. Pereira is a fast learner, and he's, always fighting someone that is levels above him in experience in MMA.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that, so as we know, Pereira was fighting constantly ever since he joined the UFC. Like, it felt like every third card, there he was, co-main or main, pretty much main. But do you think this extended time off gave him the opportunity he needed to really not just recover, but train and practice and prepare for what got him beat the first time around?
Yes, I think that he has much more time to train. He's much more focused. Like you said, he was traveling. He was doing all sorts of interviews in person and virtually. He was everywhere. When you're the champ, and in particular, the biggest star in the UFC as the champ, you tend to cut a lot of corners. You're not training like you should be. It just takes a lot out of you. That's the part that people don't talk about, you know? That's why people like that hold their belt for a long time are so good. Ronda Rousey, Anderson Silva, GSP, Conor McGregor holding a couple belts in a couple years, John Jones, the GOAT, obviously.
There you go.
These people are just doing press tours and all this stuff while needing to train and be the best. So yeah, that definitely is something to it. And then out of all the fighters I named that were champions and the biggest star in the sport at one time that were active, you can't just be a champion, you have to be a big star as a champion. That's when they want to talk to you a lot. As a UFC fighter, you'll be on Jimmy Kimmel and stuff once you're that level of UFC fighter. So yeah, once you're out of all those fighters, Pereira needed it the most, needed the training the most, and didn't need that because he has the least experience. He came in and just won the bout and has been fighting the best of the best in the UFC ever since. So Pereira definitely needs all the training he can get. So I think it's a good question, Eric, and I think that like he's gonna come in a lot better this fight. But so will Ankalaev. When you win that bout, you usually become 20% better yourself. So it's gonna be a real good fight, real good matchup. Check out our Discord community if you want more analysis, and we're gonna have a full card. We bet every single fight for VIP. I'll have more on that. Yeah, in the community.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. So let's go on into the NFL slate. We've got some good games coming up. NFL continues to be absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to think about fantasy football. Last week, Angel and Joe both had Lamar Jackson, his 40-plus rushing yards against the Chiefs. He went 6 rushes, 48 yards, no touchdowns, and covered easily. And as I'm sure everybody knows, he ended up getting injured. So we will see how things go from here on out. And real quick recap. So Angel also had a Mario Hampton over 62 rush yards against the Giants. So he more than doubled it. He went 12 rushes, 128 yards, and 1 touchdown. He picked the game that I chose to give up on him for as the one he's going to break out in. So congratulations. And we've got Joe with Vikings first half under 20.5 points, which was an alt line against the Steelers, and that one cleared. And I just realized when I looked that up, I don't know if I was looking at the total score or just the Vikings team total. Whatever. You guys are capable. Figure it out. And then Packers minus 3.5 first half spread did miss because that's what our team does. That's what the Cowboys do. Whatever they're supposed to do, they do the opposite. So good luck. I don't know why I keep putting money on them in either direction. If I bet they're going to lose, they win, vice versa. Over, under, I don't know what to say. I'm glad. And we got to see a rare case of a tie in the NFL. So that was amazing. Offense looked great. We're going to kind of have to see how things play from here on out. I will say, though, it was nice to see them show up against what I consider to be a superior team overall. And yeah, so last week, overwhelmingly positive on our Lock It In segment from Angel and Joe. And this week, we're going to look at 3 different matchups. We've got Vikings at Browns, which is Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel. Don't know why. Vikings are really juicy favorites, and their total set at 35.5 right now. I personally think Gabriel's going to throw a pick. Honestly, Wentz might throw a pick. He forced a few passes in his last game starting, and the Vikings have a really banged up offensive line. So we'll see. Both teams have a fantastic defense to present. So what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, you summed it up pretty nice there. We got JJ McCarthy still out with that ankle, so Wentz is starting. Probably going to get sacked. He has a weak O line right now. It sucks what they're doing to Shador. I believe in Shador, but we get it. NFL is making a point by having Browns make a point, so he's still a third string. Looks like it just comes down to how much Wentz could access Jefferson or Hawkinson. versus that top 5 pass rush look from the Browns. Their pass rush is scary, and they just have a great defense from top to bottom. And the O-line for the Vikings, like I just mentioned, is just riddled with injuries. It's not doing very well. Also, like, just watch for early hiccups with Gabriel's first NFL start. Like when rookies start, he might not be like Dart. We don't know. We don't know how he comes out. More often than not, you don't come out like Jackson Dart. So just keep an eye out for that in this matchup. Minnesota's defense keeps Browns in long fields. Then Wentz just needs a few shot plays to tilt a low total gain, but it's definitely going to be low on this one. Yeah, that's what I got for this one.
That's fair.
This is tied to a best bet, so I'm not going to officially say anything, but I like this matchup for certain reasons. So we'll have the best bets at the end of this show.
Yeah, and you made a really good point. Not everyone's going to be like Jackson Dart and lose me Malik Neighbors for the rest of the season, even though it's not his fault. I'm just saying, it's just one of those things. I had him in both leagues, and things went horribly.
I'm not sad. I mean, we're playing this week in fantasy, so I'm not exactly sad for you right now.
Yeah, we'll see how things work out.
Yeah, I mean, Chuba Hubbard. I lost Chuba Hubbard, so I think those offset right there.
No. Next up, we've got Texans at Ravens. So Stroud versus Cooper Rush. I don't even know if that's irony, but it is weird. It's a weird thing to say.
Very weird coming from 2 Cowboys fans used to seeing Cooper Rush. I actually went and saw 3 rows back behind the field, 3rd row, first section at the Rams SoFi Stadium, Cooper Rush starting versus the Rams, and he beat the brakes off of them. So I've seen firsthand up close what Cooper Rush could do, and we'll see what kind of game he has. He's had some brilliant games before. That game, and then I think it was 2023, and then 2022 against the Vikings, he lit them up. So we'll see what he does. CJ Stroud versus Lamar Jackson, who is Lamar Jackson, Cooper Rush. CJ Stroud versus Cooper Rush. Ravens top 6 in offensive EPA play. Remind the audience, what does the EPA play stand for? Points added?
Essentially,
Earned points added, yeah. So it's one of the highest stats you could look for, one of the most advanced stats. That's a really good indicator. So Ravens offense, the top 6 in that stat, but it drops if Russ starts. So we don't exactly know where they are in that. Maybe on paper with Lamar, they're top 6. With Rush, I still think he's good enough to, at the very least be middle of the pack with him on the field in that stat. If he has a good game, he can keep that up. So injuries are stacking for Baltimore defenders. They're all banged up. The Texans just posted a 26-0 shutout with their defense. So that's pretty nice. And Burke handled the defensive play calling that game. Should bump his confidence up a bit. I would expect a compressed passing plan from Rush, a little bit to Flowers, to Andrews, a lot of volume. Derrick Henry on early downs maybe eases the lows for Rush. Stroud, Houston's still explosive, but I just, I can't get a read on Stroud. He's just having one of the biggest falls from grace. They're still explosive. Yeah, I lean the Ravens this one. I think Cooper's still good enough to win this game. I do like the Ravens money line. I think the path for the Ravens is defense. I don't think Cooper Rush is going to be winning you any games or very many games if the team doesn't step up. So as long as Cooper Rush isn't making any mistakes, doing what he does, he's a great backup. I think the Ravens should get this one. But it's all about the defense. The Ravens defense plus Henry and Andrews.
Lost Joe. I think we all knew where he was going with that, but just to give my own 2 cents on Texans and Ravens. So I kind of disagree with what he said. Depending on how it was intended, the Ravens defense is terrible, right? Like, I think that's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, Texans have what I consider to be an above average defense, and I think that they're not always taken as seriously or ranked as highly as they should be for the personnel that they have and the teams that they've faced. Now, Stroud got Nico Collins back, okay, and Christian Kirk. I think he's pretty primed to have a big day, honestly, and I am realizing this as we speak because it wasn't something I considered beforehand. But welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. We'll cut this out.
And yeah, so I was just telling the audience that Nico and Christian Kirk are back for CJ Stroud. He's kind of had a rough go with things ever since his breakout rookie season, but the Ravens have statistically been horrible against passing offenses. They've been mediocre against rushing offenses. And I'm not saying this is Nick Chubb of yesteryear. They have options, especially if they do damage with the passing attack. They have the option to then run the ball, and because they have to respect the pass, it opens up some lanes. Will they take advantage? Could not tell you. On the flip side, Texans have what I was saying was a top, I would say a top 10 defense in terms of personnel and opponents faced, but the Ravens have a lot of weapons. Cooper Rush or no, Derrick Henry's in a game. If he's not fumbling, he's going to make you hurt. I mean, there's a reason I have him on every week's touchdown round robin, and it's because even on the weeks when he doesn't pay out, comes nowhere close to matching up to the weeks where he does, especially now that you know Lamar's not going to be running anything in by himself. You have an experienced backup in Cooper Rush. He's not going to make any crazy plays. He's not going to evade sacks and make like a back shoulder throw across the field for 40 yards, but he can put the ball where it's supposed to be. So I'm really excited to see this game. I think it's going to be a good matchup. Texans are favored at just minus 135. Value-wise, I do like the Ravens. I do. I wouldn't count the Texans out. If anything, I'd probably target some props on this one because I think I have to see what it's at, but I think Cooper Rush will do better than expected, and I think Stroud will do better than expected. And total set at 40.5, which is really low. I don't like taking totals like under 44, generally speaking. So that's my 2 cents. Last up, we've got Broncos and Eagles. This is a weird matchup for us because we live in Denver and hate the Eagles, and one of us hates the Broncos at least as much, potentially more. It is Joe. I don't know how they rank there, but we've got Bo Nix versus Jalen Hurts. So
Yeah.
Eagles offense has had a surprisingly rough start to the year, not necessarily in terms of overall production, but like AJ Brown hasn't been on fire like he was. Devonta Smith, they're not putting up the numbers that we're used to. So Eagles are favorited at minus 205. The total's at 43.5. And the overall team matchups are good here. You've got an explosive offense versus a top 5 defense in the league in Eagles offense versus Broncos defense, and then vice versa. Eagles defense, shout out to Jalen Carter sucking and spitting on my quarterback. They're middle of the pack, honestly, and the Broncos offense hasn't lit the world on fire. So I don't really have a lot to say about this. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, so for the Broncos versus Eagles, and I don't really hate the Broncos, the team, just the fans. They have a nauseating fans. As a Cowboys fan myself, I understand that this may come off a little hypocritical, but they're nauseating being here, living here in Denver. They thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl this year before the year started. A lot of them were like, where are we going to go? Conference championship, Super Bowl? And I'm like, pump the brakes. They're overrated by a lot of people year after year after year. So that's just basically, but a lot of people, ton of people. So that's just basically my personal problem with them. It's not their fault. It's just the way it is. But yeah, Broncos versus Eagles, defense tiers. Broncos are number 3 in EPA of play. Philly's defense is still grading well in pressure on third down, especially. There's a pass rush trend. Denver's top tier in sacks and sack percentage through 4 games. That's like a key upset lever right there if we're talking statistically. So Eagles are a little healthier up front. I don't know. It just depends if Nick's could keep his eyes disciplined. If he could throw the ball well, keep it safe. If the run game stalls, especially the quarterback run game plus AJ Brown, that's going to be the biggest difference. So we're going to need Jalen Hurts to be able to run the ball very well, AJ Brown to be able to stabilize the game and to have another big game, because I think he had a big game last week. I'm not sure though. Basically, I think the trenches decide this one. If Denver's hot pass rush could, overtake Eagles O-line, then That's a huge swing factor, but that's the biggest matchup, I think, on these two teams right now. And both teams are explosive. Sutton, deep shots with Sutton, and then Philly's cornerback are Brown and Smith. We'll see how they tackle that and tackle Sutton, see how that could do. So I don't know. It's just an explosive game. I think this will hit the over as long as both offenses are pretty good. I don't see a defense really stopping these two offenses. I don't think it's going to be crazy. I don't think it's going to be way over the over. I don't think it's like a lock for the over, but I do think there's a better edge on this game, which I'll leave for my best bets. Phillies has more experience. They have red zone efficiency, but Broncos have the front, and they're not flashy, but they're tough.
Totally fair. You just gave me an idea. I'm going to see if I can figure that out while you do best bets. And AJ Brown's big week was 2 weeks ago, and he went off for 6 receptions, 109 yards against the Rams, no less, which I guess a lot of that's attributed to a massive 38-yard reception. But yeah, he can go off at any time. Like, we know the talent's there. The core of the Super Bowl winning unit is still intact. So we'll see. I can't wait, honestly. And that wraps us up for the NFL slate. We're going to head on into the Lock It In segment. We're going to start things off with Joe, so I can see if there's a bet worth talking about really quick and see what he's got for us.
Yeah, so for this Vikings versus Browns, for best bets, I got 2 best bets today. First one is going to be that Vikings versus Brown bet. It's going to be under 43.5. I think the line is set out right now. Carson Wentz, O-line issues. I'm seeing a bad game for him this game. Rookie Dylan Gabriel's first start. And it's a London debut. What I say last week about the international games, it did go under. So it could go off. They could be off to another slow start. And even if they're not on a slow start, I'm still loving the under on this. My model has us at 38 points scored. So that's what I'm thinking it's going to be around that 40 points scored mark. I don't think it'll get above that. For best bet number 2, it's another NFL bet. Broncos at Eagles. Let's go with the Eagles minus 3.5. If you want to buy the hook, buy the hook. But I think this is a QB mismatch. Still got Bo Nix versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl champion, more proven, and he's behind a healthy Eagles O-line. Denver's pass rush is top tier, but Lane Johnson and Jalen Carter upgrades restore Philly's protection and defensive push. So that should be a wash there. I actually have the Eagles winning by 6 in this game. So minus 3.5 is a good play to take on them. And those are my best bets for today.
You're not going to touch the UFC card?
Nope. I'm
Straight
keeping
VIP?
UFC. Yep, VIP, UFC for VIP. But we'll have some free UFC bets in the Discord community. So make sure to join. We'll have a link in the description.
That is a very fair point. Join, see what happens. For myself, I came up with a few things, so I'm just going to rattle them off. ATD round robin, we're going to go Jonathan Taylor, Cam Scatabo, Breece Hall, Devon Akane, I always mess that up, Jahmyr Gibbs, and if you're feeling nasty, James Cook. I always get weird with James Cook and the Bills just because Josh Allen can always decide to run it in, or you never know how it's going to go. I think for anyone who cares, I think the Denver versus Philly touchdown scorer lines are kind of offensive in that it's all Philly. Like, Denver can put up points, I'm just saying, if you have a favorite in there that you want to put your money behind, I say roll the dice responsibly, of course. It's a tricky one. I don't have a play for it. It's more just, I don't think that the odds deserve to be the way that they are. For a moneyline parlay, trying something new this week, I would go Colts, Lions, Bills. That comes out to minus 116, and I think they are all fair. So roll the dice there. I think it'll work out. I can't really see any of them fumbling too badly. Colts are kind of a surprising upset sort of team. They've just had a really good season and sort of surprised a lot of people. And for a touchdown scorer parlay, I would do Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs minus 106. I think they're both going to have strong weeks against weak defenses.
Awesome. Sounding good from the round robin expert over there.
Yeah, that and same game parlays. My fault is I tend to wait until the last second to put those same game parlays in, and they cash a lot. Also, teasers I was complaining to Joe before the show that in DraftKings, I can only go so far in one direction for a teaser. And like last night, for example, I was stuck with Rams plus 2.5. So I lost. And then in FanDuel, I was able to go as high as I wanted and offset the juice a little bit. So that one ended up covering plus 4.5 or plus 3.5, but you get the point. So I'm still figuring my life out. But yeah, that's our show. And I hope everybody enjoyed it, found it helpful and informational. Join us again. Look for a link under the YouTube video to check out the Moneyline Hacks website, where you'll find those write-ups from like the 1% of people that called last night's game. Mr. Jules, yeah, join the Discord. It's a great community. Check us out. And I hope everybody has a great weekend, a great fight night tomorrow, win a lot of money, take the books, beat Vegas. All right, we'll see you guys next week.